Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens on News 9 Live with me, Neha. Khanna, let's now turn our attention to the Maldives. The Maldives Supreme Court has confirmed that jailed former President Abdulla Yameen Gayoom has been barred from contesting the country's presidential elections slated to be held next month. The ruling is another setback for the Progressive Party of Maldives, or the PPM, which declared Yameen as its candidate before his December conviction for corruption and money laundering over kickbacks from a private company while he was president. The party last week challenged the Election Commission's block on his candidacy because he is serving an 11-year jail sentence. They argued that the commission had misinterpreted the constitutional prerequisites for presidential candidates. Yameen, the half-brother of former dictator Abdul Gayoom, was seeking a comeback in the South Asian archipelago after losing power in 2018. In fact, Yameen has campaigned against Indian influence extensively in the Maldives, raising concerns in New Delhi. Close to strategic shipping lanes in the Indian Ocean, the Maldives is a focal point of competition between India and China for influence in the region. Now, the PPM's coalition partner, the Progressive National Congress, has said it would field a candidate if the Supreme Court declared Yameen ineligible. President Ibrahim Mohamed Solih is seeking a second term despite his Maldivian Democratic Party splitting in June after a public falling out between Solih and another former president, Mohamed Nasheed. Now, Nasheed, after losing the party's presidential primary to Solih, formed a party called the Democrats, which has announced its own candidate for the upcoming elections. Yameen was sentenced to 5 years in jail and fined $5 million in 2019 for embezzling $1 million in state funds. As president of the Maldives, Yameen had laid the foundation for the Chinese debt trap all the way back in 2015. His administration between November 2013 and November 2018 was particularly open to Beijing's outreach, pivoting away from Malay's historical reliance on India and drawing closer to China instead. This shift was viewed unfavorably by New Delhi, as it was keen on preserving its regional sway and was quite apprehensive that China has been desperately using its economic clout to enlist India's neighbors into a string of pearls encircling the subcontinent. Beijing's efforts in this regard gained strong traction under the administration of Abdulla Yameen Gayoom, who was elected president in 2013 and was particularly amenable to Beijing's commercial overtures. Two factors motivated Yameen's partnership with Beijing. First, Beijing was willing to overlook the authoritarian tendencies of his administration. For example, China warned India not to interfere in the Maldivian domestic politics when New Delhi expressed concern regarding Yameen's decision to declare a state of emergency in February 2018 in defiance of a Supreme Court order to release political prisoners. The second factor, which preceded his presidency, was the Maldives' 2011 graduation from least developed country status. This led to a need for bilateral commercial funding for infrastructure, as international aid was no longer an option. Thus, in 2014, Yameen committed to the BRI, paving the way for Chinese enterprises to fund significant infrastructure projects in the Maldives, such as the China-Maldives Friendship Bridge. Yameen also sought to establish a free trade agreement with China in 2017 to enhance trade and market access for Maldivian fish exports. This move, much to India's distress over China's growing commercial influence over its southern neighbor, was pushed through a sparsely attended parliament bypassing proper legislative scrutiny. Despite these hurried efforts, Yameen failed to ratify the agreement before his successor, Ibrahim Solih, took office following the 2018 elections. Now, here's another crucial factor that has played out in Maldivian politics in recent times. The India Out campaign of the Islamist news portal, Theirs, and its founder Ahmed Azan in the Maldives relies heavily on Chinese propaganda to whip up anti-India sentiment, even though the Maldives has refuted claims of foreign forces' presence in the archipelago. In February 2021, India and the Maldives signed an agreement under which India was to develop the harbour of the Maldives National Defence Force Coast Guard. Now, former President Yameen and his supporters dubbed this agreement as a way through which Indian troops would be stationed in the Maldives, and in the months to come, he launched the India Out campaign on the social media, accusing the Solih regime of compromising the sovereignty of the country. It has been reported previously that the India Out campaign might have to do with Yameen's close affinity with China. A report in the Maldives Voice had said that Yameen's anti-India sentiment goes way back to the time when he became president in 2013. Small media websites are today being funded to direct a political campaign that will clearly benefit China in the long run if Yameen gains power again. That is what the report had claimed. Given this context, when President Ibrahim Solih, who champions an India-first foreign policy, was elected in 2018, it was widely interpreted as a loss for China and a victory for India. However, it is becoming apparent that this narrative may not have worked out exactly the way some had hoped, because China's robust economic ties with the Maldives, cultivated over a decade, have stayed resilient, ensuring that Beijing remains well positioned to patiently advance its strategic objectives in Mali. Time for us to take another quick break here on Global Lens, but don't go anywhere. On the other side, we have the latest on the box office collections of Barbie for you.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it.
It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's